Hello everyone, this is John Galt speaking, here with another live stream for you guys where I'm going to talk a little bit about this mocap online template that I created, I don't know, a million years ago. So I made a live stream yesterday where I was trying to update the project to the most current engine version, and I did it successfully, by the way. And so after I did that, me and Crispin started talking, and we were kind of tossing ideas back and forth about, if there was to be an update to this template, what would it contain? And so, we tossed ideas back and forth with, you can add a million things to a game. But templates, guys, are supposed to be, if you guys are not aware of this, a starting point, a point of reference. They're not supposed to be a completed game. And the reason, mainly, is because everybody's game, they want it to be different. And the more features you add to a project, some people end up having to undo a bunch of stuff that they don't want. And then some people have to add things that they do want. So it's a never-ending battle as being a content creator on the UE4 marketplace. It's a never-ending battle trying to satisfy your customers. So all the projects that I do and I sell on the UE4 marketplace, I try to keep them as basic as possible with the basic minimum that you need in order to get started with. So in other words, if you're building a FPS game, a multiplayer FPS game, well, the minimum you need is a first-person character, teams, and the ability to shoot and kill each other, right? And so that's what my templates do. Well, I don't remember exactly when I built this template, but it's been a long time ago. So if you guys are unaware, this is the company that I'm talking about when I talk about Motus Digital. It's mocap online, and they've been on the UE4 marketplace as a content creator forever. And so I don't remember exactly how or why I got involved in a project for them, but I did. And so the project was this. It's called MCO Multiplayer TPS Blueprints. And it comes with, originally, this thing started out as basically just a way that they could demonstrate their animations. Because they are, in fact, an animation company. Okay? And so that's what this thing was originally for. It was just taking certain animations. Me being a game developer, I know what I need in order to get a character moving around, shooting, and all that stuff. So basically, it was to create a simplified player controller with locomotion that could run around and shoot, demonstrating some of their animations. And one thing led to another, and then we have this. Okay, so that's what this started out as. And he's got all this stuff written up about it if you guys are interested in reading about it. It's got over 200, boy, that was fun too, by the way. Over 200 animations are implemented in this blueprint, this project here, and I implemented every damn one of them. Well, I wouldn't say every one of them. The minimum that I needed is what I did. And so if you guys are curious, think I'm pulling your chain or whatever, you can see right here, they put a link to my YouTube page on here, and I made some tutorials way back in the day for this, talking a little bit about how to do it, how to use it and stuff. So according to this thing was uploaded and put on the UE4 marketplace in May of 2018. And we are now in 2022. And if I'm not mistaken, this thing didn't go on the marketplace right after it was completed. There was a lot of back and forth months worth actually, trying to get it approved through Epic's approval process. So it was probably completed in 2016 or 2017, maybe, I guess. We'll just be generous and say that's when it was. And you know, they've been selling this, and it's got reviews on it. You guys can go read about the reviews, view legacy comments. And so basically I asked him to go through the comments and see what the most requested features were for this, and we kind of decided on a feature set of what we would try to add to this project. Okay, so this video here, I've already done the majority of the work, and so this video here is to kind of demonstrate a little bit about what I did. Okay, so previously there was no team play in this project. The menu system for joining the servers and all that stuff was pretty clunky. And so it got a pretty good revamp. Okay. Now, just to be clear here, this is not complete. I've still got yet some work to do. But I got the vast majority of it done. The rest of it's just pretty much polish and tweaking from here on out. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the play button here. And the first thing that you guys will notice, especially you guys that own this template, it got a menu upgrade. Okay. And I also put in a single player, option. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and host up a game. So all the menus got a revamp. Now you actually have the ability to select between two different maps is all I'm going to shoot for in this, but you could expand it to include more maps. But that's all that's all I wanted to do. But now you have that. Now you can determine how many players you allow, right? So this is multiplayer. And you also have a match timer now, so you can actually set the time limit on how long the match lasts. And then you just host the game, and then magically, as if almost by magic, now you have the ability to pick the red team, the blue team, or go to the lobby. Now we'll talk about the lobby here in just a little bit. This is not a traditional lobby like a lot of people want in their game, but it's kind of a makeshift lobby, and we'll talk a little bit about that. I do this in all my projects. When you're using a listen server, which is what this is, you're a little bit restricted as to what you can do with a lobby feature. You have to use a dedicated server in order to get a persistent lobby where players can stay logged in all the time, even if the game's not going or being hosted or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this guy on the red team.
That's what I'm talking about.
And now you can see that he actually spawns on a red pad, and he has a red paint job, which obviously indicates that he is on the red team. And you'll notice at the top of the screen, there is now a match timer that's counting down, and there is a blue point and a red point. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and move him over here, and then I'll take this side over here, and I'll do a search for this server that's hosted here. So we'll do this whole find games thing. And it found the server. Obviously this is the server that's hosted here. And now you just click this and you can join, and then you get to pick a team. So I'm gonna go ahead and put him over on the blue team, and you'll notice he spawned on a blue pad, a blue player start for the blue team. And the red team guy can see him over there. And you will notice that the health bar of the blue dude is red, and the name above his head, which is his name, which if you're on Steam doing this is your Steam name, is red. And when he looks at me, mine's red. In me. Okay, it's to indicate it's an enemy. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and switch teams. So now you can hot swap, or you can hot swap in progress. While you're in game, you can switch teams and it will kill you, and then you will respawn at the blue team spawn point. And now what you'll notice is that the health bar and the name above the player's head is now indicating green, meaning friendly, right? So we're both on the same team. So obviously if you see somebody with a green name and stuff above their head, you know they're your team. Never mind the color of the skin on the mannequin. No team damage, right? So I can shoot this guy, but it will not remove his health. And he can shoot me and it will not remove my health because we're on the same team, right? And there's no team damage. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop this guy over to the red team, and every time you switch teams while the match is in progress, it will kill you off. But you'll notice that when that happened, it didn't change the score. Okay, so the only way that you can score is to kill another player. So I'm gonna go over here and hose the blue dude and watch the score at the top of the screen. Which means red team officially has 1 kill. I'm gonna go ahead and kill him again. And now you can see it goes up to 2. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit further in. Okay, and then if I take the blue dude and kill the red dude, you guys know what's going to happen, right? So for every person you kill, you get a point. Your team gets a point, not you specifically. Okay, now another thing that I implemented in this is a player list. So by pressing the P key, you can see that it'll bring up a list of all the players that are currently connected to the map. And you can see that we have 1 on red, 1 on blue, and then there's also a lobby list. Okay, and once again, we'll talk about the lobby here in a minute. So if I switch to the red team and reactivate the player list, now you'll see that they're showing 2 players on the red team. So this is basically just a little generic thing that I put in here to keep track of how many people are connected and what team they're on. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to go over here. Now this is something that Crispin added. I didn't do this. So he put in these acid pools, right? And so if you get in one of these, you're going to start taking damage, and I'm going to leave him in here till he dies, just to show you that you do not get any points for dying in the acid pool, right? So let's go ahead and kill him off. So there you go. You don't get a point for dying in the acid. He also implemented fall damage in this project. So I'm gonna get way up here and I'm gonna jump and watch him take damage. Right? And I'm gonna do that one more time so that I can self-kill, just to show you guys that you also don't get any points if you... The only way you get points is if you actually shoot and kill another player, okay? And as you can see, no points, okay? And also you don't get any points, at least as of now. I put these little generic NPCs in here just so you can shoot them and kill them, but you don't get any points for killing these guys or anything. And there's no AI with them. They're just kind of a novelty, standing around to get shot. See there?
That's it. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. That's
And he'll
it.
respawn.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. That is it. That is what.
Yeah, there he is. Okay, so he just respawns.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about this. Let me open up the map so I don't have to keep going through the menu every time. There we go. Okay, so the notion of this lobby, guys, is basically what you'll do, and this is for Crispin more than it is anybody. Basically, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to designate a place on your map somewhere, and you're going to build something that players can come into, but they can't get out of. And the players that are not in the lobby, the only way they get to go to the lobby is via the menu. Okay? Okay. And then, of course, the idea, since this is team deathmatch, the idea would be that one side will have a place and the other side will have a place. And then you put in, you know, as many spawn points as you want, right? Wherever you want them. So let me go ahead and just do this here, and I'll kind of show you guys what the idea of this is. So let's go ahead and make a few of these. Okay. And we'll go ahead and do a couple more of these lobby things here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to duplicate this. And basically, I'm just going to build a little building over here. Let's throw something together real quick. Okay. I'm not building lighting or any of that crap either. Okay. So here's the idea of the lobby. The lobby will be a place where you put these spawn points that you cannot get in or you cannot get out. So you could do a couple things here, right? You could build some kind of an underground bunker and literally put it underneath the map somewhere. And you could turn it into a lobby, like a snack room, a cafe, a cave. Okay. The important part of it is that the players that are in the lobby can't get out any way other than using the menu. And the players that are not in the lobby cannot get into the lobby any way other than using the menu. So what do I mean by that? Okay. So let me go ahead and, yeah, that's right. All right. Let me go ahead and spawn in here. I'll put this guy in the lobby and then I'll put this guy over here on red. Okay. And once again, oh God, these annoying people. Who did the voiceovers for that, I wonder? So, once again, the idea of the lobby is players that are out here, you're going to have to make a place somewhere under the map, up in the sky, somewhere that the players can't get in. Like this guy's on the red team and he can't get in here. Now, obviously, I can go climb up this ramp and jump in there. Let me just show you guys here. So see there, I could get in there if I really wanted to. So this is no bueno. You'll have to put this somewhere that you cannot get in. Okay, from outside the lobby, you cannot get in. And the reason is this. Okay, now I could change this, but really you should just make it where you can't get in or out of it except through the menu. So if I bring this gun up and start shooting the dude in the lobby, you see this? You can kill him. Okay? So if you've got guys in the lobby during a match and the red team can get in there, they'll kill them. And the blue team, if they can get in there, they'll kill them. You see? And also, let me go ahead and jump in here. If somebody from out here gets in here, it's free for all, right? Do that? Unless one thing happens, which is if this guy that's red team decides he wants to go in the lobby, now there's no team damage. So yes, you could shoot each other in the lobby, but you can't hurt each other. So in other words, if everybody on the match decides they're going to the lobby, they can run around in the lobby, make it as big as you want it to be, right? It can be a whole underground bunker. It can be a spaceship up in the sky. It's big, it's large. There's nothing in there. You can put Coke machine props in, whatever the hell you want to make your lobby into. But you know, they can run around and shoot each other, but they're not going to be killing each other. So that's why I say you have to make a lobby area somewhere in your map that you can only get into from going to the menu and manually joining it. Okay, so let me kill out of this, and now we'll join this again. So see, if they go ahead and pick a team, the lobby's empty, right? There's nobody in it. But if they're sitting here, you know, team deathmatching the piss out of each other, right? Red side of the map's trying to kill blue side of the map. If at any point this guy here says, you know what, screw this, I'm taking a break, instead of having to disconnect and leave or try to hide out in the level somewhere, he can just hit his tab button and go to the lobby. And he'll die, and then he pops out in the lobby wherever it is that you put that. And the same's true for this guy. If he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm tired of playing, so he's going to go to the lobby too. And then at any point from within the lobby, well, you know what, let's actually go PvP each other again. You hit the tab key and you just pick a team, right? I'll put them both on the red team. There you go. See how it works? Okay, so that's the idea of the lobby. And once again, it's because it's a listen server, right? If it was a dedicated server, you could create a persistent lobby and you could actually disarm the players where they ain't even got guns or anything. But when you're using a listen server, which is what I use on all my projects, because who wants to build dedicated server stuff and you have to pay monthly fees to rent a server, right? You don't do that unless you're, you know, you got astronomical amounts of money in a legit game, not a template. Okay. Okay. So that's the idea of that. Okay. Now, one other feature that I added to this project, which I'm going to, let's see, can we do this? I don't know. Okay, well, let me just say this. Map travel only works in a packaged build of a template or in a standalone game, right? So it's hard to test map travel from within the editor. You normally have to package it out and then do it that way, okay? But I think if I can do the standalone here, I'll see if I can get map travel to work, and I'll show you guys what that's all about. Okay, so God, let me get away from these annoying peckerwoods. Okay, so the server has a privilege that the clients that are connected to his server does not have. And so you guys may have noticed when I hit the tab button here, this menu, actually that's the client. So I'm going to have to
brains.
I'm gonna have to unhook him. Let's see. Okay, so this should be the server. Yeah. Okay, so when the server hits his tab key, he has this little section right here called server admin. Clients that are connected to the server don't get that. Okay, so the server only has the ability to reset that match timer. So I can go in here and say set it for 5 minutes and hit set new time, and you'll see that the timer restarts at 5 minutes. And I can do this again and set it to say 59 minutes, and now you see it resets it to 59 minutes before the match is over. Okay, and the server also can do map travel. So we're currently on test map 1, and if I hit this and go to test map 2 and hit travel to map, it will not work in a standalone. I thought it would, but I guess it don't. So let me quit this here. Let me try setting this to just one player. And let's try standalone game again and see if it'll work. I thought that it would work in a standalone game, but it may not, right? But I do know it works in a package build because I've already tested it.
So man, what are you even going on about? I don't know, killing your way out of a wet paper bag. They could have gave you every gun in this.
Maybe there's a delay. Let's see here. No, I guess not. Let me.
I don't know. Kill your way out of a wet paper bag. Oh.
No, it's only going to work in a packaged build. Okay, so I thought it would work in standalone, but it doesn't, obviously. And I packaged this out earlier and tested it, and it does work. Okay. But anyway, what I'm getting at is the server having these buttons that the client doesn't have. He can say, okay, screw you guys, I'm going to change it to 30 minutes. Or alternately, he can say, you know what, I'm sick of this map, let's go to this map, right? And he can switch it, and he will go to the new map, and all the clients that are connected to this server will go with him. Okay, but obviously I can't get this to work in a in the editor. You have to be packaged. Okay, so let me quit the game here, and let's go back to 2 players. New editor window.
So man, what are you even going on about? So man, what are you even going on about?
Okay, let me move him over here. So this is a client on the right-hand screen, and if he brings his tab button up, see, he doesn't have access to that menu, but the server, he gets to do that. Only the server can do that, okay? All right, so let me bring Chad over here. So I don't know how to say that first name, but I can call you David. So hello, David. And there's Mr. Ant-Man himself, Scott Lang. What's happening, dude? Yes, and you're correct. Long time no see. Okay. All right. So, guys, that's really what I wanted to show you guys, is that somehow I'm working back on this old template again, but it does now have, it does now work with the most current engine version. And it also is now getting some upgrades, right? Because this thing hasn't been updated really. Well, Crispin added some stuff. When I finished and handed it off to him, it didn't have those elevators you guys see in here. It didn't have those acid pools that you guys see in here. It didn't have fall damage. So he added some stuff, but you know, it's never had team play or any of that stuff in it. So I thought since I was working on it anyway, I'd give it a little bit of finagling to see what we can do with it. Okay. It's still just going to be deathmatch, but it'll be team deathmatch. So previously, before the teams were implemented in this project, it was just free for all. There were no teams. Everybody could kill everybody on it. And since I've done the teams in this now, it's team deathmatch. Okay. Now, I guess maybe another thing that I'll mention here is it's not a game, right? I mean, people who buy these templates, God love them, but I don't know whatever gave them the impression that they were buying a completed game, right? I don't know why. So how many game modes should a template have, right? So should it have free for all, team deathmatch, capture the flag, command and conquer, capture and hold, right? I picked one game mode, which is, first, it was free for all. PvP free for all. Now, the current game mode that is picked is team deathmatch. Now, another thing that comes into mind is, okay, so how do you score? Well, depending on on the team deathmatch game that you happen to be playing, there's only about 1 million different ways that you accrue score. Okay. In this template, every time you kill a player, your team gets a point. Not you, your team. Not leaderboards, your team. At the end of the match, it's not going to show every player that was connected, how many kills they got, how many insta kills they got, how many headshots they got, right? And I'm not giving different points for, okay, if you get a headshot kill, you get 10 points. If you get a body shot kill, you get 5 points, right? If you done the most damage to the player that got killed, you get an X amount of points. Right? I'm not doing that. This is not a game. It's a template. If you guys want to set up your team deathmatch to be as complicated and as sophisticated as that, you buy a template like this and you pick up where I left off and you add it. Become a game dev, bruh, and not just a template holder trying to jerry rig something together so you can impress your friends. Hey, look what I made. And you didn't make it. All you did was bought a template, right? There's a lot of that goes on. Is that me being a jerk saying that? Well, it's true. Okay, so the goal is that this is going to be team deathmatch. How do you win? Okay, well, the current way that this is set up is the first team to get 10 kills wins the match. If no team gets 10 kills before the timer of the match runs out, whichever team has the most kills when the timer reaches 0 is declared the winner of the match. Okay? And that's it. That's as complicated and as complex as it's going to get. If you set a 30-minute timer and within that 30 minutes, the blue team gets 10 kills and the red team gets 5, blue team wins. If you set a 30-minute timer and nobody killed anybody, at the end of the match, it's declared a tie. If you set a 30-minute timer and red team gets 10 kills and blue gets 0, red team wins, right? See, it's not that sophisticated, but it'll get the job done and get the point across, okay? Okay. Let me bring chat over here. I see you guys over there. I do have chat open on my other screen. Let's see here, David. I am currently learning Unreal Engine C++ network multiplayer. I would appreciate if you can give me advice on how to learn. I don't do C++, so I wouldn't be of any help to you. I don't really know of anybody who does multiplayer C++, but my suggestion would be probably your best bet would be to find a Udemy course that's specifically about that topic, multiplayer C++. Now, I have a Udemy course that I sell for multiplayer, but it's only Blueprint, right? So we go from ground zero and use all blueprints and create a first-person multiplayer team-based shooter game. But that's the only suggestion that I could give you. And hello, Oni, what's happening, dude? Or dudette, right? You could be a dudette. Occasionally there's chicks that tune in, or used to be. Okay. So another thing that we kind of knocked around and talked about, which I may or may not do, I don't know yet, these pickups, okay? So there are health pickups and ammo pickups, right? You guys see them scattered all over the place. Those could be made to be team-based, meaning you could designate health pickups and ammo pickups that only the red team can pick up. And then you could set some that only the blue team can pick up. Or you could maybe leave them as they are, universal. Just whoever gets to it first gets whatever it is. Or alternately, they could be made to drop when a player dies, right? So I'm still deciding on how far into the upgrade for this I'm going to go. But that's something that we talked about is, you know, adding a little bit more, you know, sophistication to it. And that would be one thing. I don't want to build new things for it, but take some of the existing things that are in here already. And now that teams are implemented, start, you know, scripting in some things to make it more team-based, since it's not free for all anymore. Okay. Now, another thing that this template contains is these little stations here called weapon stations. And what I'll do is let me get away from these guys. Let me actually go to one of these little stations. Right, so this is a whole tribe's idea. You guys know that I'm a big, huge tribe fan, always have been and always will be. So you guys remember, if you ever played that game, they had inventory stations in that game where you could go into them and you could get health, you could get ammo, you could switch your loadout on your character and all that stuff. So in this template, what I did was I made it where, actually, let me go over here to where the directions are. And this is something that we'll talk about a little bit. So the way these currently work, Jesus Christ, let me get this guy away. Man, I don't know about all these sound effects. This is annoying. Okay, now you stand over here and shut up and be quiet. So there's a little instruction panel above this station up here that tells you what it does, basically. And you press 1, it'll give you an assault rifle, which you come with by default. You press 2, you get a burst rifle. 3, you get a shotgun. 4, you get the beam gun, and 5, you get a laser, or a yeah, it's a laser gun, or I mean a launcher. And so, having said that, let me just exit out of that because that's annoying as shit. Now that you guys know what this thing does, let's talk about a possible revamp that might happen here. So these could be made to be team-based as well, meaning you could set some that are only red team accessible, and you could set some that are only blue team accessible, and you could set some that are universal for that matter. Instead of just making it be key presses, putting a UI so that when you actually get into this, instead of just having to rely on pressing a key, it pops a menu up and you get little pictures or something of the gun that you can select. The ammo could be added to this and the health, right? So if for whatever reason you can't get to a health pack, you could go into this station and get one from this station if you're on the correct team. Same with the ammo. Instead of just scattering them out everywhere, it could be made to where you can select an ammo kit from this station. Okay. They could also be made to be destructible. So if you're on the red team and you come to a blue team station, you could shoot it and blow it up. Right. And then there would have to be a mechanic added to where you could repair them. Okay. Obviously. So if you're on the blue team and you come up to this station and somebody's blew it up, the red team came in and blew your shit all to hell, you could have a repair gun or whatever, and you could zap it with that for a while and it would gradually start building its health back up. And then of course, when it's blew up, it's disabled. It can't be accessed. And then when you get it repaired, you can then go in, switch your load out, or get health kits or ammo kits. That's something that I've toyed with, maybe upgrading on this station because this thing is kind of clunky the way that it currently is. I may or may not do that. I don't know. Okay. So I may switch it to where the pickups are team-based, and or instead of just scattering them everywhere, when a player dies, where his corpse is, it spawns either a health kit or an ammo kit. And this station likely might get a revamp. And that's really it. That's as far as I went with it. Okay. All right. And so that's pretty much it, guys. I mean, that's all I've got. That's all I wanted to talk about. And by the way, Crispin, he also built this big elaborate map system here. So I don't know what he plans on doing with that. I'm a mechanics guy, right? I don't level design. So whatever it is that he decides to do, he may revamp this whole entire map. It may not look anything like this when he gets done with it. Okay. All I did was duplicate the map that was in here so that you have map 1 and map 2. And of course they obviously need to be different. You know, smaller for one, I think. Otherwise, all you're going to get done is running. You know, maybe not even have it outside. Maybe have part of it indoors and part of it outdoors. You know, that kind of thing. Smaller so that you don't spend the whole entire match just looking for somebody to shoot. Right? You shrink the size of the map to increase the kill times or whatever. Okay. And I don't have any plans for doing AI. I have a template already on the UE4 marketplace, which that's one of its key things, is that it has multiplayer AI. It's a 5-person co-op template, which is not the same as this. And I do have a first-person shooter multiplayer template too, but you know, I thought that I would do some stuff to this one. But I definitely don't think I'm going to even contemplate switching these guys over to where they're at. I mean, what would be the point of that? It's a PvP game, right? Unless there's nobody to play with, right? Obviously, then you ain't got nothing to shoot. So these little dummies are just in here for you to shoot. I guess you could have AI, but I don't think that's something that I'm going to do for this template. Okay? Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed this preview. I'm going to go ahead and close all this stuff down here. And that's it, guys. So you guys have any questions or anything now that my spiel is done? Going. Oh, I guess I could hang out here for a little while. We could go forum surf. Just tack that on to the end of this stream. And by the way, guys, I'm not saying that I'm back. I'm not saying that I'm back and that I'm going to get back into the Unreal Engine and start making videos and tutorials and all that stuff again. I'm not saying that I'm back. Okay. But there are ways that you can help support this channel, which may or may not increase my motivation to get back into this. Under the link, under the videos in the description, there's a link to my PayPal account, which you guys could buy me a cup of coffee if you want to. If you like the content that you see on this channel, you could send me a contribution for my efforts, and that would be greatly appreciated. $2, $1, $5, whatever. And, you know, maybe I will get back into this. I don't know. Okay, so with that, we are going to go to the Unreal Engine 4 forums and just kind of read through some of the topics here while I'm hanging out for a bit. What am I looking for here? Oh, yeah. We're going to go this way. Okay, so normally what I do in these streams that I ain't doing nothing is I go read through some of the topics and maybe give some commentary on them. So we're going to go into general discussion, and we'll just kind of scroll down through here and see what anybody's got to say. Let's see. Is there a way to use a hit result to check if there is a nav mesh? I don't know. I would suspect there is a way, right? Since how you can get the surface type so that you can make it where when you run through water, it actually sounds like water. When you run on metal, it sounds like metal. So I don't know if that trace, if you use a trace, I don't know if it would detect a nav mesh or not. Might. Let's see. Is it better to create multiple character capsules for multiple projectile collisions? I don't know. Probably not. You can only have one capsule component and one collision on your character, so I would say no. Let's see here. Royalties, funding, payment. How do I calculate? Don't have no idea. I've never put out a completed game to have to worry about that. And besides that, I think you have to make, I don't remember, a lot of money before it's even something that you have to consider. Thousands of dollars. I don't remember. It's $3,000 every 3 months or something. And then if you exceed that, then they get a cut. Let's see here. How do I make enemies or anything destroyable? Well, you give it health, and then you give it the ability to receive damage. And then whenever the health reaches the 0 amount, you do whatever it is you want to do with it. Blow it up, turn it into a ragdoll, play a death animation, make it explode, whatever it is. Look at this. How is this acceptable? Compiling 8,000 shaders. Boy, ain't that a bitch? Oh yeah, it is a bitch. If I get back into this and start using Unreal Engine 5, I'll probably have to build me a new computer. I'm running 8 core, 16 thread, 32 gigs of RAM with an RTX 2070, but obviously that's out of date now. So I would need something like 16 core, 32 thread with 64 gigs of RAM and a 3070 or some shit like that if I really get into Unreal Engine 5. Let's see, loading order, problem with button image. Everything in level editor is red. I'm using a Mac. Well, that's your problem, right? Mac's made by Apple, and Apples are generally red. So that's your problem. It's a Mac. I'm just kidding, by the way. That's got nothing to do with it. Shaders compiling every time I open a project. Buoyancy question. How to change collision objects. Man, this section of the forum here ain't very interesting, is it? What are some problems with the Unreal Engine? Don't get me started. Upgrades for one. Third person map in a top down template. Let's see, how to get Valley of the Ancients. Steam achievements not working. It would be an achievement to get Steam achievements to work. Let's see here. I'm switching out of this one. This ain't interesting to me. That's what I do. I just kind of poke around on the forum and look for some sort of a topic that I can rattle about for a little while. Showcase, got skills, looking for talent, international. I thought they put a multiplayer section on here. Am I wrong? Or did they do away with it already? Oh, well, I don't see it now. Huh. We could go job hunting. Not. Oh, I see. I see your comment over there. Yeah, it's under here. Component overlap component not working. That's a double negative. Problem creating online session when using advanced sessions. No. High FPS causes client to stutter randomly. Coming from Unity, there are many concepts that don't exist. I bet you can do exactly the same thing in Unreal that you can do in Unity. It's just probably calls something different. Right click menu, toolbar disappearing 4.27, how to make a vehicle multiplayer, physics replication, and client side prediction. Well, he ain't asking for much at all, is he? Water volume causes jittering when swimming to the surface. Multiplayer, how to run code in player state only on client. Well, that's run on client, isn't it? Isn't it? Blueprints calculate direction. Set blackboard value as a vector. Directional attacks in fighting game with 2 players. Is it possible to possess a character controlled by AI? Yeah, I bet you could do that. You unpossess the AI and then possess it with the player controller. I bet you could do that. Let's see. Remove all C++ folders that appear in all my projects. That's easy enough, I think. Let me go in the engine just in case there's somebody asks something. I'm like, hey, let me show you how. I'll show you how for a cup of coffee. Not really. I don't know what he means. Did he create a C++ project, or did he somehow tell it to show C++ folders in a blueprint project? I don't know. I guess I could go in there and read. But generally speaking, it goes something like this. Under view options, you got all these different options here, and you could uncheck show C++ classes. And also you can show the engine content, right? That's where they hide all these little cubes and shit. See? That's all these things that it show up over here. And to toggle that on and off, you do that. And if you want to get rid of your C++ stuff, you uncheck that. And that should do it, shouldn't it? I don't know. It should. Okay, moving right along. Endless runner. I'm getting a strange crash with a pop-up telling me I'm calling a pure function. Unable to place item in an original location that was picked up. How can I fix the gun clipping to the wall problem? You know what's hysterical? The reason that I'm laughing about this particular question here is because, believe it or not, that's an absolute nightmare, pain in the dick to fix. Right? It is. A lot of people are like, well, all you got to do is just add another collision component and encapsulate the gun. Yeah, it don't work. Right? And the reason it don't work is because a character blueprint is only allowed to have one collision component. One. And that happens to be the capsule component. So you can't. You have to put in other kinds of ways to do it. I've got one project that I built that I did that in, and essentially you do this elaborate trace system, and when the player gets a certain distance away from the wall, you play an animation that makes him point the gun straight down or straight up, and then you disable the shooting. And then when you back away, after you get a certain distance away, you let him bring the gun back up. It's a pain in the ass. How to use AI Team Sense using blueprints. David, is that David? Yeah. There is a way to do it the way that you're talking about. I think there's actually a material that you can apply to your gun that'll make it do what you're talking about. But even with that, it's still a pain in the ass. You would think it would be something that's just simple to do, but for whatever reason, it ain't. But yes, you're correct. You can do it via I don't think it's the near clip plane. I think it's render depth or some shit like that. It's been a long time. You guys will have to cut me a little bit of slack. I'm just getting back into this after having a year hiatus. How to replicate a mesh's transform. Let's see. Variable replication question for multiplayer skills. 4.27, third person shooter aiming at Crosshair. See the two videos I made setting twin blast dual wielded pistols up. I set up shooting exactly at the crosshair. I bet what's going on with this guy is he's got a crosshair either in the center of the screen or not, but either way, he ain't able to get his traces coming from his weapon or whatever to line up with the crosshairs. And that's actually a skill, an art, to get it to be accurate. There's technique involved in it. And that twin blast project that I've got on my YouTube page that I did a couple days ago, it's 3 line traces, right? You've got one that comes from the camera and goes right directly to the center of the screen. You put your crosshair right directly in the center of the screen, and that trace tells the trace from the gun. You start at the muzzle of the gun, but you tell it to go to where the trace from the camera came or hit in the center of the screen. That way you get a perfectly accurate weapon. Let's see here. How can I fix the line trace to shoot at the location point? So, is that the same guy as he asked in the question 80 different times? Is that what he is? Can't get looping camera shape to stop smoothly. Tutor will pay, not noob. Hey, there's me a job. How much should I charge him an hour for tutelage? Well, I guess first I'd have to find out, oh, well, are you wanting C++ networking or are you wanting Blueprint? Because I can hook you up with Blueprint replication. Overlapping images, delay loop and action, expanding on cooking process. Is it possible to use Epic online services? How can I replicate character rotation? Anim BP replication. How do I create correct rotation? Correct rotation for what? How can I draw multiple lines in UMG? Event base versus listen base. Blueprint compatibility between minor revisions. There is no such thing as a minor revision. Ask me how many times they updated their engine and broke my projects on the marketplace. Ask me. Every goddamn one. How about that? Floating water like in space, floating character in space. Third person mesh socket vector changing when in multiplayer client. Cannot multiply a vector and float. Getting infinite loop error. I've had them before. What the hell? Open several connectable listen servers. Skeletal mesh overlap returns null bone. AI not moving. Well, that artificial intelligence ain't very smart if it can't move. Property replication broken in editor after update 2.4.27. Imagine that. It broke something. How to listen for mouse clicks. Well, I'm not seeing anything in here that's really just entertaining. I don't know if I like this new form or not. I can't find shit. Hell, we've already been in here. Same shit. I was trying to get some different stuff. Rep notify and anim montage for death replication. Resolved. Multiplayer projectile replication. Been there, done that. Can't shut down a ghost server. I know exactly the problem he's having. Been there, done that. There's actually skill involved in shutting down an online session. You don't just quit. You have to actually do some crap to make it shut down properly. Otherwise, you got like every time you launch your online session, it hosts and hosts and hosts and hosts and hosts. Player name does not correctly replicate to all players. It looks like somehow I viewed that one. I don't know. How did that happen? All right, I think we've already made it up to these before in one of the other videos that I did. I guess I could do a demonstration here. I'm seeing a lot of questions about animation replication, right? A lot of questions about that. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit of time here talking about how I replicate animation specifically. Okay. And the trick, guys, ladies, gentlemen, is you actually are not replicating an animation. What you're replicating is a variable that triggers an animation. That's what you should be doing, okay? That's the whole trick to it. So what we'll do is we'll create a default third-person template, and we will make it replicate animation, okay? So let's do this, man. Okay. All right, so we have the most awesome default third-person template on the planet. And what I'm going to do is add the animation starter pack to it just so that we can have some animations to work with. So that's in here somewhere. Animation starter pack, and we will add that to this. Okay. Let me delete this dude out of the level here and run off a copy or 2 or 3 or 4 of these player starts. And let's get this set up for multiplayer so that we can test our work. So I'm going to go into advanced settings, and I'm going to set this to 720 by 512. Uncheck always center window. And then we're going to go back in here and set this to 2 players and new editor windows. And then I'm going to Alt tab this stuff around like so. Okay, so the first thing to mention here is that the basic movements of a character already replicate by default. Okay, so you can see the idle animation's already replicated. Both players see it. The jump, right? So the basic movements of a character already replicate. So when people talk about replicating animations, what they're talking about more than they are anything is one-offs, like a reload, for example, reloading a weapon, or switching from one weapon to the other, or going from hip to aim down sights, right? That's generally what people are talking about when they're talking about replicating animations. So what I'm going to do is open up this third person character here. We're just going to use the stupid default dude here. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to do a left mouse button down. And the idea here, let me get an animation out of this animation starter pack. Let's find this one, equip rifle. So I'm going to right click this and get it over to that other skeleton. shit, I don't remember how to do this. Here, I got a better idea. We're going to export this animation to the desktop, and I'm going to re-import it and put it on that other skeleton. I ain't going to sit in here ho-hawing and humming for 2 hours trying to figure this out. Now I'm going to have to figure out which one it is. It's this one. Yeah. So there we go. We're going to work with this. Okay, so as I was saying, let me save this. The idea here is that we're going to pretend like that we want to mash the left mouse button down so that we can make it play an animation. Okay. So what I do is use Boolean variables. You either are or aren't doing something. You're either equipping a weapon or you're not. You're either shooting a weapon or you're not. You're either reloading a weapon or you're not, which is a perfect use of a Boolean because it's simply true or false, right? It's asking a question. Are you equipping the weapon? Yes or no? Okay, so we're going to call this is equipping weapon. Just like that. Okay. And when we mash the button, we're going to say, yes, we are equipping the weapon. And when we release it, we are going to not be equipping the weapon. You guys see how that's going to work? Okay. Now, this don't do anything. Okay. Obviously, all it's doing is changing it from true to false. So how you get this to work, we're going to start out first in just single player. And then I'll show you guys the trick to make it work in multiplayer. Okay. So we're going to start out in this. And when I left mouse click, it don't do anything except change that variable from true to false. Right. So we could put in a print string here. I'm going to put this in just so that you guys can see what the actual hell is going on here. Okay, so if you look in the upper left hand corner, you should see this change from true to false. Left click, it's true. Release it, it's false. True, false, true, false. We're equipping the weapon or we're not. Okay. So now to make that play, to make that animation actually play, you should be, if you're not, you should be using montages. Okay, so that animation that we put in here, I'm going to right click this thing and I'm going to say create, and I'm going to say create anim montage. And it names it the animation. And if you open it up, it's the same thing, except it's a montage. Okay. Why did that quit? Play. And it'll sit there and play over and 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 over. Okay. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to go into this character's animation blueprint here. And we're going to go into the event graph. And what we need to do is get access to where that variable is. Where is it? Well, we created it on the character blueprint, did we not? So to get access to it, you take this try get pawn owner and you cast to the default third person character, or whatever your character happens to be named. Okay, and I'm going to bring this all the way out here at the end like this. And then we're going to get is equipping weapon. Okay, And we're going to promote this to a variable. And we're going to call this is equipping weapon, just like that. And then we're going to plug it in just like that. Okay. And then we're going to hold down the B key and we're going to make a branch. And we're going to check is equipping weapon. And if it's true, we're going to use this node called Montage is playing. See it right here? And basically you can plug in a montage here, which is that one. And if it is not playing, so we're going to put another branch. Come on now, connect the dots. If this montage equip rifle is not playing, then we're going to montage play. We're going to play it. Same exact montage. Okay. Now, it's still not going to work, right? So if I go ahead and spawn in here and mash the button, you can see it's still not going to do anything. Okay. That is because you have to have a montage slot in your character. So we're going to go in the anim graph, and right here, we are going to pull out of this and type default. And this is called slot default slot, oddly enough. And we're going to plug this in just like this. This, you have to have this in order for montages to play. Okay, because this is the slot that it uses to splice in the montage. So let's go ahead and compile and save that. And now when we left click, look at that. See that? So if I left click, it'll play the montage and then it quits. And if I hold it down, it'll just keep playing it over and over and over and over. Now here's something really screwy. So we'll just have a little discussion about this. So if I take off running and now play it, look what happens to the character. You see how he just slides around derpy as shit? Well, that's because you have to split the character in half. Generally, montages, not always, but generally, most montages you play from the pelvis up, right? So when you're reloading a weapon, the feet of the character don't do anything. It's the upper body that moves, just like this equipping weapon. We need his legs to continue to move like normal, and we only need this animation to play on the upper part of the body of this character. So how you do that is, I'm going to unhook this, hold down the Alt key and left click, and we're going to make what's called a cache pose. So I'm going to pull out of this and type cache, new save cache pose. And I am going to call this, actually, I'm going to move this. Let's unhook that default slut. Okay, and we're going to do this. We're going to plug this up like this. This save cache pose is going to be called default base, just like that. Then we're going to use this cache pose. So we're going to type default, and we're going to say use cached pose default base. And then we're going to plug this in like this. And then we're going to cache it again. New save cache pose. And we're going to call this one default with montage slot. Wow, that's a big long ass name, but that's what we're going to call it anyway. Okay. And then after we do that, we're going to use this node called blend. And there is a node in here called, where the hell is it? layered blend per bone. Do you see this node right here? This node has these settings over here that you can mess with. So we're going to expand this out like this, and we're going to add a branch filter. Where, at what bone do we want to split this character? Well, that would be spine 0, 1. That's where his hip's at, right? So if you guys are curious, if you look, right here's the name. That's the name that you need. Which bone do you want to start splitting this character at? Well, for most montages, splitting the character exactly in half. That way you can play animations only on the upper body and it won't affect the lower body. Or alternately, you could play it on the lower body and it won't affect the upper body. So it really just depends on what you're trying to do. In this case, we need the upper body to do the animation, but we don't want the legs to change. We want them to keep running, okay? So, now what you do is you take the cache base pose, this one. So we're going to say cache, use default base, and that goes into the base. And then we're going to use this one so that we can blend in the montage slot. So we're going to say cache, and this one's the one with the montage slot. And we're going to put these two together and compile it and save it. Now, you remember that scenario I just showed you guys a minute ago? Now, when I'm running and I mash that button, you can see that it only does the upper body and his legs will continue to run. And if you stop and left click, it'll still only do the upper body. See that? That's how you accomplish that. Now, you guys are going to notice it's a little herky-jerky. See that? There's some settings in this layered blend per bone node that you can tinker with to smooth that out. If you check mesh space rotation blend, watch the difference just that one checkbox makes. Now, do you see how much smoother it is? And he ain't as herpy-derpy. Also, in that same node, this is asking right here, this blend depth, this is asking you, how many bones do you want to spread this blend across? So if you've got 3 spine bones, well, then it'd probably be a good idea, instead of cramming it all on one, spread it out across all 3 spine bones. Okay. And now we shall do it again. And that is much, much smoother. You guys see that? See that? Beautiful. Okay. Now we're going to talk about replicating. So we got the animation to play, obviously. The catch to it is, and where everybody has the problem, is the replication part. So let's cover that. So let's go back up here to 2 players. And we're going to go into the new editor windows. And we're going to stand side by side each other. So you see me standing in front of him? Let me pull over here. Now I'm going to activate that animation. And you guys watch what happens here. Okay. The left screen, which is the server, by the way, if you read up at the top of the screen, see how it says my game preview server? This is the server. The right hand screen, this screen, is the client. See here? Client, server. So when the server plays that animation, the only person that can see it is the damn server. See, he sees it just fine, but that client over there looking at him, he don't see shit. Now, if I alt tab over here and play as a client, you can see that he can see his own animation playing, but the damn server can't see a damn thing. Can't see a goddamn thing. And now we're going to put the multiplayer to it. Okay. Let me get me a drink here and light me a smoke. Are you guys asleep over there in chat? How many people's even here? 2? It is Saturday. Everybody's out doing Saturday things. I don't do Saturday things. This is my Saturday thing. Okay. So back where we originally put that Boolean variable, let me save this in case it decides to blow up. Back where we originally put that was in the third person character in his character blueprint. You guys remember this right here? I don't need this damn print string now. So here's how you make this replicated. Okay. First and foremost, this variable has to be set to replicated. See how it's set to none? It has to be set to replicated. And see how it gives it balls? See that? But that ain't it. That ain't the end of the equation. Okay. This is a client asking to do something. So we're going to unhook this. The client can't do anything except ask for the server to do things for him. So what the client needs to do here is ask the server to change this variable from false to true. And then to also ask him to change it back from true to false. So this is the client, and he's going to ask the server to do it. Well, how do you do that? Well, that's what these custom events are for. Add custom event. And we're going to call this server start weapon equip. Actually, let's call it server equip weapon. And these are also, for you programming guys like David, these are also what's known as RPCs, remote procedure calls. So when you create a custom event, there is a box over here that you have to change to whatever it is you want it to be. Do you want it multicast? Do you want it run on server? Or do you want it run on the owning client? In this case, we simply need to ask the server to do it. So it needs to be run on server. And then the client right here, ask the server to equip the weapon. And all the server has to do to play that animation is turn that to true. Okay. Now, we could probably put this on a flip-flop, but another way that I would do this is I would create yet one more custom event, and I would call this one server unequip. Weapon. And also, this, of course, needs to be ran on the server. And the client, when he releases this button, needs to ask the server to unequip the weapon. Now, by just doing that, what do you guys suppose is going to happen when we play that animation now? So the left screen over here is the server. And when he mashes his left mouse button, hey, look at that. Now he sees it, and the guy over there on the right-hand screen, the client, sees it. And if I Alt-Tab here and play as the client, when he mashes that button, he sees it, and the server sees it. Okay, and that can be done, that procedure that we just did can be done to replicate every single animation that you need to animate. You got a reload weapon animation, it'll work exactly the same way. You got to equip animation, it'll work exactly the same way. You got to unequip animation, it'll work exactly the same way. You got a sword swinging animation, it'll work exactly the same way. Okay? And that is how you replicate animations. That's all there is to it. Crouch would be the same way, right? You either are or are not crouching, right? You either are or are not dying, right? So if you've got a death animation where your logic is that you used to kill the player, you need to have a Boolean variable called is dead, yes or no. When you kill the player, you set that, you have the server set that variable to true. All right, you're dead. Then you trigger that montage to play, which is that's where you would put your death animation in a montage. And then when the character respawns, that variable will be turned back to false. So he's waiting to be dead again. See there, guys, ain't nothing to it. Ain't nothing to it. Oh, thirsting to death. Now that's how you replicate montages. How about particle effects? That's a good one that I get asked about a million times. How do you replicate particle effects? Anybody know? Anybody want to see? We can do that too. Anybody? Bueller? Why don't we do that? We will replicate. We did animation. And once again, I do all my animation that way. You either are or aren't doing something. Okay? So for particle effects and or sound effects, there's a different technique and method for doing that. Okay? So let me bring Chad over here for a second. Wow, interesting. Well, thank you. Always had issue with HUDs when I die. Those are a pain in the butt, yes. I hear that they use multicast event for effects. Particles would be interesting. So we'll do a particle and a sound. Okay. And then we'll talk about yet another method for replication that needs to be considered when you're making a multiplayer game. And that's the use of what's known as a rep notify variable. So before we start, let me show you guys what I'm talking about here. So when we created this Boolean variable here, you guys remember that when you select the variable, you have this replication section over here, and there's two types of replication. One is just simply replicated, and then you have this other one called rep notify. So we'll talk about those, but first, let's just do a particle effect, okay? So I'm going to use the exact same button, and I'm keeping this simple, stupid. That's why I'm doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete all this here, because now we're going to change over, and instead of doing an animation, I want to show you guys how to do a particle and or a sound, okay? Depending on the sounds. So I'm going to add to this project here a feature or content pack, and we're going to put in the wonderfully wonderful starter content that everybody loves so well. And the reason for that is because in the particles, we got an explosion. And then we also have some sounds in here for an explosion. Okay. So the goal here is I want to show you guys how to do a sound and a particle. Okay. Okay. Just so we're all on the same page here. So first, we're going to go back to a single player scenario because it's good to see the difference. Okay. And that's the reason why I do this. everybody tries to script things for single player, expecting them to somehow magically just work for multiplayer, and it don't work that way. They're done two different ways, okay? So we're going to go back to a single dude, okay? In the character blueprint, we are going to do spawn emitter, okay? And there's this node in here called spawn. There's two of them, really. You got spawn emitter and you got spawn emitter attached. We're going to use spawn emitter attached in this instance, okay? And so when we mash this button, we are going to play that explosion, and the attached to component, we're going to get the mesh of the character, and we're going to use that as the attached to component. And for this, you can either use a socket name or a bone name. And so we're going to put in spine 01. So when we mash this button, we should have an explosion blow up at our pelvic area. See that? And the reason we did attached instead of just at location is because if we're moving, it will stay attached to us instead of just spawning and you being able to run away from it. Okay? That don't have nothing to do with multiplayer. That's just how I chose to do this. Okay? All right. Now, here's the question. The question is, who needs to see this explosion? Am I the only one that needs to see it? Or do I need to see it as well as everyone looking at me needs to see it? Okay? Because that matters, obviously. In this case, we need everybody to see this, right? So to do that, you would use a multicast. Okay. So a multicast, what multicast actually means is this. Show it to whoever did it, and everyone around him that's looking at him, they need to see it happen too. That's what multicast means. Okay. So to do that, you create a custom event, same as we did before. Programmer guy, David, this is called an RPC. Okay? It's the same thing. A custom event is the same thing as an RPC. So we add a custom event, and we're going to call this play explosion. And since the client, actually, let's do this. Let's just call it play explosion. And we're going to plug this in here. And we're going to call it here. Play explosion. Call function play explosion. So the client asks here to play the explosion. Now, we didn't set any kind of replication to this at all. Okay? And this is a demonstration to drive this home. So now, when we come in here and hit play, it's going to do the exact same thing that it did when we did it a minute ago. See? Now let's go into two windows, like we have been. New editor windows. And the server over here on the left screen is going to blow up. The client didn't see it. See that? And if the client over here on the right screen, if he does it, guess what's going to happen? Same thing that the animation did. The client sees himself explode, but nobody else has any idea that he just exploded. So, you would assume, and you would be wrong, that you would just go in here and you would change this to be multicast, right? Wouldn't you guys suppose that's what happens? So now when the server does it, hey, look at that. The server seen it, and the client over there on the right screen sees it too. Voila, done. Or is it? Because when the client does it, hey, look at that. Only the client sees it. See that? So what's the problem here? Well, the problem is this. If you select this event, this RPC, if you come over here and you hover over where it says multicast, read that little pop-up box that comes up. Read it and pay very close attention to the wording it has. Replicate this event from the server to everyone else. Server executes this event locally too. Here's the very most important part of this whole statement. Only call this from the server. See that? So what does that mean exactly? Who is this asking? Who is this? This is the client, right? The client can't ask to run a multicast node. The client has to ask the server to run the multicast node. Okay? So now what we're going to do, and this is probably going to be crazy to you guys, but this is how it has to go. Okay? There's a flow to this replication stuff. So right here, we're going to change the name of this to server play explosion. See this? And we're going to change this to be run on the server. So now the client's going to ask the server to play the explosion. Okay? So what do you guys suppose is going to happen here? And this is set to be ran on the server. So what do you guys suppose is going to happen here? So if the server does it, hey, look at that. He's still the only one that sees it. Now here's where it gets really freaky. Watch this. If the client does it, hey, look at that. The client don't see it, but the server does. Look at that. See? Ain't that crazy? So, in order for this to actually work, you have to create one more custom event. And this one is going to be called multicast play explosion. See that? And this one is going to be set to multicast. And the client is going to ask the server to play the explosion. The server is then going to turn around and multicast play explosion. And we're going to compile that and save it. Now, what do you guys suppose is going to happen? So on the left screen, this is the server. He's going to blow himself up. Hey, look at that. The server seen himself blow up, and that client over there looking at him seen him blow up. Now, if we Alt-Tab over here, as the client's going to ask the server to multicast the explosion. So now the client gets to see it, and the server and everyone else looking at him also gets to see it. See how that works? So this is what I call the flow of replication for multicast. This is something that's specific for multicast, just so you guys are clear. The client has to ask the server to play the multicast explosion. Now, why is this? The reason is what we talked about right as we did this. Remember when I told you guys here to read very closely what that multicast pop-up says. Replicate this event from the server to everyone else. Server executes this event locally too. And this is the important part. Only call this from the server. See that? So what that means is the only way that you can get a multicast node to do what it is supposed to do is it has to be called by the server. And the only way a client can get that to work is the client has to ask the server to do it. And when the server executes this event, it functions the way that it's meant to function. If anyone calls this event right here, but the server, it will not work the way that it is supposed to. Okay, does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Now to do a sound effect, okay, obviously to do a sound effect, it would be the same thing. Okay. So since we're already doing this, we could do a play sound at location. And we plug in the explosion cue here. And it's the same way, right? And the location, you could just do get actor location. Wherever this character blueprint is, that's where we want to play this explosion sound. And once again, it's literally that. That's all you have to do. Okay, so now when the server and then when the client, now here's something, guys, that we need to cover before we go any further. Okay. Sounds are weird in multiplayer. Okay. And the main thing that is weird about sounds is, first of all, how the hell do you test it? Right? How do you know if this client hears the server blowing up? How do you know? Okay. Well, there is a command that you can put in, right? So if I hit the tilde key and type solo audio and hit enter, that makes one of these people deaf. Let me move over here. Okay, here you go. Check it out. See how this guy on the left screen, when he explodes himself, you don't hear anything? So that means that any sound that this guy on the left screen hears is coming from this guy. Is that right? No, that ain't right. Okay, so this guy. Let's see if that guy on the right-hand screen can hear this. See, right now, nobody hears it. But let's see if I start inching closer to him. See how he starts hearing it now? Now let me back up. Don't hear it here. But as I get closer, see how you barely hear it? And then when I get closer, the closer I get, the louder it gets. See that? Now, if we reverse that and I type solo audio here, let's see what happens. Now I hear it. See that? And now this guy is deaf. So as he starts getting closer, see? Okay, now here's the part that I was going to tell you guys is why sounds are weird. It ain't just the multicast. It ain't just the multicast that causes this to do what it's doing here. In the sound cue, and this is important, so pay attention here. In the actual sound cue, where is it? In here, there is this thing called override attenuation. Okay, if this is unchecked, and we save it, watch what happens here. So I'm going to put this guy over here in this corner, and I'm going to put this guy over here in this corner. And we're going to do that same thing. Solo audio. And we're going to find out which one of them's deaf. Okay? Look at that. See there? They both hear it exactly the same. So why is that? Well, it is because it's a combination of the sound being on a multicast and the attenuation has to be set. And if you open up this override thing here, do you see here the radius and the fall off distance? That is what controls how far away you are and how loud it is on the way there, right? So just keep in mind when you're replicating sound effects and you're doing it on a multicast, you don't want to be able to hear somebody shooting their gun all the way from the other side of the map, right? And the way that you do that is it does need to be multicast, obviously, but you have to make sure that you're setting your attenuation in your sound cue up to be the correct distance, the correct radius, the correct fall off, the correct blend algorithm. There's a shitload of work that goes into doing nothing but being a sound FX engineer in games. And now you guys know why. It ain't as simple as just plapping a sound on, okay? There's a lot of tweaking that goes into it. So there you go, guys. That's how you replicate a particle effect and a sound effect. How about that? That's pretty nifty. Now we're going to talk about the final way and method of replication. Okay? Okay. And that is a rep notify. Okay? So we're going to do this one a little bit different. I don't know if we'll be able to test this though. Let me think. Let me sit here and think for a second. Let me light me a smoke and sit here and think for a second. I'm trying to think if I've got a project. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I could just do it. I could probably give a better explanation because this ain't going to work for us, right? Because for me to be able to demonstrate what the actual purpose of a rep notify is, we need to be able to join after something already happens, okay? So here's what we're going to do for this. We're going to delete this project here. Oh yeah, clone. That's exactly the wrong button. No, Go away. And we're going to use one of my products that I sell called Simple Capture the Flag. Okay. It's $6 too, by the way. This Simple Capture the Flag project is $6. So it's a good deal. If you guys don't own it, I need to ask you why. Also, right now would be another good time to mention that I have taken a year off of Unreal Engine, and I am just now starting to kind of get back into it again. And one of the reasons that I quit was because of lack of support. People want you to show them all the tricks and tips and tactics and all that stuff, but they don't want to give you anything in return for it. And there's a lot of work, effort, and energy that goes into learning how to do this, first of all. Second of all, the time involved in actually making videos and making content and writing what you're going to do and what you're going to show and all that stuff. So if any of you guys so feel inclined, if you look under the description of these videos, there's a link in there where you can contribute and or make a donation to my PayPal account. Or alternately, on the banner of my YouTube page, there is a link there for my PayPal, as well as the course that I sell on Udemy, as well as the 4 products I sell on the UE4 marketplace. So if you guys appreciate what I do here and you find this information valuable, buy me a cup of coffee. Send me $5, $2 to PayPal. And then when I get donations, it makes me feel like what I did was appreciated, which will then spawn me to continue doing this. Okay. Okay. So before we get started here, I'm going to add, let's see here. I'm going to add the starter content to this project. Okay. Okay. Now, what's different about this is that this already has a menu system in it. So I'm going to go ahead and set this up for 2 players. And we're going to go to 720 by 512. Uncheck always center windows. And we're going to go in new editor windows. Servers on the left screen, clients on the right screen. And we're going to go into multiplayer. I'm going to pick the red team here. And then I'm going to take this dude and I'm going to find a game, which would be this game, which is hosted here on the left screen. And we are going to go to the blue team. So I'm not going to talk about what this template is. There's plenty of videos that already exist about what this actually is. But what I am going to ask you guys is a series of questions. What happens if, let's do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and host up a game again. This will be a better explanation. Okay, so what happens if this guy here on the left lights himself on fire and he is a flaming person, and that happens when he's the only one connected to this server? What does the players that connect after he lit himself on fire, what do they see when they connect? Do they see him burning, or do they see him looking like he ain't on fire? What's the answer to that? Do you guys have an answer to that? Bueller? I will answer that question for you guys. he will not see this character on fire. It does not matter if he lights himself on fire as the server. It does not matter if he lights himself on fire as run on anim client. It does not matter if he lights himself on fire with a multicast node. When a person connects to this server after he has already lit himself on fire, there is but one way for that player to see him on fire. And that is the rep notify. That is exactly what the rep notify is designed for and meant to do. It is a way to trigger a effect or other things so that when it happens and a person is not present when it happens, when they do become present, it will update them and them only to show that character on fire. Okay? So we're going to do that. That's exactly what we're going to do. And you have to have a way to connect after in order for this to be a demonstration. That's exactly why I started this project, because it's already got a menu system in it. So if I go into the character's blueprint and we open this up, I'm going to do a simple key press. I'm going to keep it simple, stupid, just like I did in those other videos, because it's easier to explain that way. We're going to do the same left mouse button. And the goal here is to spawn emitter attached, same as the other one. And we're going to attach it to the mesh, exact same damn thing we did earlier. Okay? Except this time we're going to light his ass on fire so that he'll keep burning. Okay? And the attach point name is going to be spine 01. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and say snap to target, keep world scale. And now what we're going to do is we're going to host up a game, put him back on the red team, and I'm going to light his ass on fire. Okay, so I'm going to hit the left mouse button. And it did not light his ass on fire. Did I not? Oh, well, of course it ain't. Son of a... Fire. We got to have fire, damn it. Light it with fire. Burn it with fire. Okay, let's try that again. I'm getting goofy here. This live stream's been too long. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to light his ass on fire. Ready? Torched. Now that happened, and there ain't nobody here but me. So now I'm going to be a client, and I'm going to find that game that he's hosted. And I'm going to connect. And I'm going to go on blue team. It don't matter which team, but I'm going to go on blue team. And I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to wonder why he's on fire and I don't fucking see it. How come I smell bacon, but I don't see anybody frying a skillet? Why? Why is that? Okay. So now we're going to do the tried and true wrong way to do this before we do it the right way, because I like to really drive home the point of all this multiplayer stuff. Okay. Okay. So we're going to do the tried and true way. Now we already know because we're smart and you guys watch my content and I go above and beyond trying to help you guys learn how to do this, because it's a pain in the ass. It really is. So we already know how to do this, right? Obviously. We create a custom event, aka RPC, and we call this server light fire. And then we set this to be ran on the server. The client will ask to server light fire. And then we're going to create another custom event, aka RPC. And we're going to call this one multicast light fire. And this one is going to in fact be multicast. And the server is the one that's actually going to multicast light fire. Now that's how it worked with the explosion, right? That's exactly the same damn thing we did with the explosion. Now I want you guys to watch what happens here. So I'm going to light him up. And it happened, nobody's here. So I'm going to find him as a smoldering heap of charcoal, right? Ain't that what's supposed to happen here? Hey, look at that. Son of a bitch still ain't burning. This is exactly where you use what's known as a rep notified variable. So very similar to how I showed you guys that I replicate animation. This is pretty much the same way, right? And you use the same thing. You're either, his ass is either on fire or he's not, right? So this is another good use of a simple Boolean variable. You're either on fire or you're not. The box is either open or it's not, okay? So we are going to create a variable and we're going to call this is on fire. And you could put a question mark because that's, you know, how I roll. Okay. So we're going to bring this variable in and we're going to set it. And I'm going to delete all this so that we can do this all over again. And this variable is going to be set to rep notified. Now pay attention here. The moment that you set this to be rep notified, it's going to automatically create you a function. Okay. So watch over here as I change this to be rep notified. See how it created a function over here called on rep underscore is on fire. Okay. So when we mash the button, we're going to set this to be is on fire. And inside the on rep is on fire function that it created, we are going to spawn emitter attached. The emitter is going to be the fire. We're going to attach it to the mesh of the character at spine 0, 1. Now that should do it, right? Right? So let's go test it out. And just so you guys know, this probably ain't going to work because there's a catch to these. Okay, so we'll see. So I'm going to go back into multiplayer, host up a game, put him on the red team, and I'm going to light his ass on fire. Well, it didn't attach it in the right place, so I must have typed something wrong. Hold on here. Oh, yeah, it's 01E, which is exactly wrong, by the way. Shit. Typos get me every time, guys. You guys have no idea how many hours I've wasted trying to debug something and it's due to a fucking typo. There we go. Now his ass is on fire. So what do you guys suppose is going to happen? Right? Let's go ahead and find this guy as a steaming, burning pile of flesh. Hey, what? What kind of bullshit is this? It didn't work. It didn't work. Why didn't it work, guys? Does anybody know? Anybody? Bueller? Anyone? Similarly to how I explained to you guys that the only person that can call a multicast node is the server, right? Similarly, the only way that you can get this to work is that this variable has to be set by the server. Okay? So we're going to unhook this and we're going to create a custom event and we're going to call this server light fire. And this is going to be set to run on the server. And the client, remember this is the client. The client is going to ask the server to light fire. What do you guys suppose is going to happen here? Is it going to work? Yes or no? Maybe? I don't know. It's been a long time since I did this. It's been a year. Okay. So it may or may not light his ass up. Who knows? Right. So we're going to host up a match. And I'm going to set him on fire. All by himself. Nobody's here. And then I'm going to find him. And this time, is he going to be on fire? Yes or no? That's all I want is to see this guy burn. And now, hey, look at that. Look at that. He still ain't on fire. Why? 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 We're not done. Oh no. Oh no. What if inside this function, what if oh, wait a minute. You may be right. Hold on here. Ah. Ah. Let's try it now. You may be right. I thought that was checked. I guess not. And I guess it wasn't checked the whole damn time that I've been sitting here doing this. But I'm not going to run back through it again. Right? But yeah, you're correct. This should work this time. So depending on which engine version, it may work. Right? They changed some stuff. All right, let's see. Is he going to be burning this time? I mean, seriously. Oh, look at that shit. That shit. How about that? How about that? And if this guy gets too close to him and he lights himself on fire, look at that. Look at that shit. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so the trick to on rep notifies is that the variable has to be set by the server via a custom event, aka an RPC. If anybody changes this variable, except the server, it will not work. How about that? And what you want it to do, I'm going to leave you guys with an exercise. Okay. Since this is supposed to be tutorial videos, I'm going to leave you guys with an exercise and a question. Okay. What if you have a explosion, and after the explosion happens, then they get lit on fire? And you actually hear the fire burning. So this is where it gets really interesting, guys. You do, at times, find yourself in a situation where part of it needs to be done as a regular multicast, and part of the same exact event needs to be done as a rep notify. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend for a moment that I created a turret that shoots at people. Okay? And that turret can be blew up. It has a health value. And you can shoot it and blow it up. And so when the health of the turret reaches 0, it blows up and it makes a as well as a particle. And then after it explodes, it's burning with fire, and the fire is making a crackling sound. Part of that would need to be done as a multicast, the initial explosion. So the sound it makes when it explodes and the particle it makes when it explodes needs to be done on a regular multicast. However, when the turret changes from that status to be burning and smoking with sound of burning, that part of that same event needs to be done with a rep notify. Because what'll happen is, if you try to do the whole entire thing in a multicast, whenever the player connects, he ain't going to see anything. It's going to look like there's nothing wrong with the turret other than it just ain't shooting at him. He won't see the explosion. He won't hear the explosion. He won't see the fire burning, and he won't hear the fire burning. And if you try to do it if you try to do the entire event in a rep notify, what will happen is, the moment he spawns into the game, if he spawns right by that turret that got destroyed while he wasn't there, he's going to hear it blow up, he's going to see it blow up, and he's going to see it light on fire, and he's going to hear it burning, all instantaneously the moment that he connects to the server, right? So you have to split that particular event into two parts. All the person that needs to hear and see when he connects is the turret on fire and making the burning sound. Do you guys see that? And so that is your exercise. Try to set that up. And I actually have a working example of that I'll show you guys what I'm actually talking about. Okay. Let's see. What is it? It is, oh hell, am I really going to do this? I guess I could. This is another product that I have for sale on the UE4 marketplace called Multiplayer TPS Basic. Okay. And this is This is $19.99, by the way, and this is a 5-player multiplayer co-op shooter, third-person shooter with AI. Okay, so this is a pretty baller template. I'm proud of this. Out of all the products I sell on the marketplace, this is the most favorite one that I've ever done. Okay, so let's set this up for 2 people. Let's see here. 720 by 512. Uncheck that. And then we will go to new editor windows, servers on the left side, clients on the right side. I'm going to host up. Actually, I'm going to have to do something here right quick, because otherwise I'm going to stir these damn AI up and they're going to go batshit crazy on me. So what I need to do is go into the maps, open up this test map 1. And I am going to take this turret and I'm going to move it over here so I don't piss off the AI. And I'm actually going to disable this turret if I can. Maybe I'll just make it not shoot a projectile. How about that? Now let's go back to the main menu and let's come in here and see what we got. It should track me and stuff. It just won't shoot anything. So see there, it'll still track me and shoot at me, but it's not got any bullets. I unloaded the bullets. So these things are destructible. So I'm going to get this big heavy gun here and I'm going to blow it up. Damn, I don't even remember how to play my own templates. So you see how it exploded? It played an explosion particle. Now it's lit on fire and it's burning and I can hear it. See that? Now that happened when I was the only person here. So if someone joins after the fact, what should he see? He should only see it burning and hear it. He shouldn't hear the explosion or any of that stuff. And there it is. So now when he gets up to the turret, it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And this had to be split in a couple different pieces. Part of it's done multicast and part of it's done via a rep notify. See how that works? And that's the reason and the purpose for rep notifies. It's to update a player after something happened that he needs to be aware of when he gets to the game. Not everything has to be that way. Only certain things, such as this scenario that you see right here. Okay? Okay. I think we are officially done streaming for today. How about that? Wow, I didn't expect to do that much, but I guess I did, huh? Oh, where am I going? Where am I going? How do you operate this stupid thing again? All right, I'm going to bring Chad over here. Let's see here. Let's see. God, you guys have been chatty over there. So hard to test. Yes, audio is hard to test in that engine. I don't know if there's something they could have done differently or something they could do to make it easier, but it's a nightmare to test multiplayer sounds. It really is. Have it. Thank you. Not on fire for client or something. LMAO. The socket name's not correct. Of course it ain't, because I'm dyslexic and I can't spell for shit, obviously. Dark Mercy. I do. I'm a kid. Uh-oh. If you're under 18, I happen to drop F-bombs on this channel some, so don't send me hate mail because you're a kid and you heard me say a swear word. We love you, John. Thank you. Would work. Oh no. Should we check the mark Boolean? Yes, and just to be clear, Bandy, if I was to go back and watch this video, I'm 99% sure that I never checked that damn variable true through that whole showing you how it don't work scenario. But trust me on that, it would not work regardless of whether that was true or not. The trick to it is that when a rep notify has to be set, it has to be set by the server, and then what you want it to do after you've changed the variable, you put inside that function that it auto creates when you change it to a rep notify variable. That's how it goes. Let's go Bendy. Yay, worked. Nice. Let me add a battle pass. Wow, we love you. It's 2022. Would that be like an if check with a client joining? Not sure exactly what that was in reference to. I've talked too much. Of course I have. Working on a video game. Just thinking out loud. Wow, thanks so much. You're welcome. It is smart to have HUDs on character, or should it be on the controller? Haha, understood. Okay, so the way that I do UI in general is I use a HUD, and inside the HUD I create what's called a container, and me and all my UI goes inside that container. And the reason that I do it that way is because it's modular, first of all, and second of all, you don't end up having to, in your HUD, create widget, add to viewport, create widget, add to viewport, create widget, add to viewport, right? You create one widget, which is the container, and then inside the container, you add your crosshair, you add your health bar, you add your player name, you add your weapon you're carrying, you add your ammo, all inside one widget, right? And that's the way that I do it. I'm sure there's plenty of people that would disagree with me on that, but that's how I do it, is that way. And it works really good. And, I mean, I could show you a quick little demonstration on what I'm talking about exactly. So maybe I ain't done just quite yet. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And by the way, guys, feel free to send me a PayPal contribution. Buy me a cup of coffee, and that might be pretty awesome. Let's see here. Let's get rid of that. Oh, I already deleted them. Of course I did. Why am I in here trying to delete shit that's already deleted? Why? Why am I doing that? I don't know how to operate this stuff. How do you work a computer? Why does Windows 11 suck? Okay. I should be able to show you this pretty quickly. I'm not going to make it functional, but I'll show you what I'm talking about by creating it modularly. I can't say that. Modularly. Okay. All right, so we'll just go ahead and dip into the first person template, since it's such an awesome template, which no, it's not really. It's not really awesome at all. It's the crappiest first person template on the planet. Actually, it's probably in the galaxy, if not the universe, the crappiest first person template. So what they have in here is this crosshair, right? You see it? And the way that they did this crosshair is where the hell is it? They put it in this HUD, right? And they do this whole thing here. What I would rather do is something like this. Okay. So first you create a widget, a user interface widget, and you just call it something like this: W_container. Okay. And it's literally just a blank widget. And then inside the HUD, you do, what the hell is it? Create user, create. Maybe we should just type widget. Maybe I could find it that way. Create widget, right? So you do this, and then you do this on like event, begin, play. Son of a bitch. Maybe it's just begin play. I'm rusty, guys. Where the begin overlap? There it is. Event begin play. Son of a bitch. So you do this, and that would be your widget, the one you just created called container. And then right here, it's been a long time, so I'm just going to guess at this. Get owning player. Which one of these is it? Target is widget. Target is widget. I'm just going to put this, right? Get owning player controller. And then after you do that, you do add to viewport like this. Okay. Now, by doing that, our crosshair is gone, right? Obviously, our crosshair is gone. But what it did do was create that blank widget. So then what you do is you would create something like this. You'd make a user interface, a widget, and you would call it W_crosshair, like this. Then you open this and you add a image like this, and you anchor that to be in the center. And then you zero all this out. And then you put in the image, which would be that crosshair. Where the fuck is that at? That. Oh, it's going to give an error, right? This is a bug in the version that I use, so I'm going to have to do this differently. I'm going to go find the damn thing here, select it, and then I'm going to do that whole use this fucker like that, and then I'm going to compile that and save it. Okay. And now inside the container widget that I created, inside here, remember it's blank, but if you come over here, you can do user created under that tab, and you'll see that we have that crosshair. Okay. So I'm going to drag that in here, anchor it to the center, and then zero this out again. 0, 0, and 0, and 0. and compile that and save it. Is that it? Is that enough to get it done? Nope, I don't see it. Why is that? What did I do wrong here? Maybe I got to size it 16 by 16. Is that right? The same size as the texture? And I don't think that's in the center of the screen now at this point. Hold on here. It's been a hot minute since I did this. Let's go back in here. Is this one still jacked up too? 16 by 16. That's correct. Or is this one got to be it too? 16. Yeah, see, it's not in the center. How the hell did we do that? It's in this alignment shit. What is it? 0.5. I fucking hate UI. Have I ever told you guys I hate it? Yeah, you got to set this to 0.5 and 0.5. Now it's in the damn center. And then in the container, you got to do the same thing. It's got to be alignment 0.5 and 0.5. Now, okay. So now, when I spawn in here, now I've got that crosshair right dead in the center. Of course, it's too fucking small. Isn't it always? God damn it. So let's set this to 32 by 32. And then we'll go back in the damn crosshair and do the same thing. 32 by 32. How about now? I'm rusty, guys. There, that's a little better. So now that crosshair is right dead in the center of the screen. You see that? And so now if you want to add another widget, like a health bar as an example, you would create another user widget and you would call it something like widget health, like this. And then you go in here and you bring in like your progress bar, bring in some text, not a box, just a text. And you would call this something like this, health. And then you could, let's do this. Let's put the space colon space like that. And then you select both of these right here like this, right click and then click wrap with horizontal box. And of course it's going to do that. Move that back on top and then set this to fill and take the progress bar and set that to be filled. And then if you grab the horizontal box and you size it like so, wait a minute, that still ain't right. I think this one goes to the left. And this one goes, nope, the left. Maybe it's got to be auto. Oh, wait, maybe it's that, size to content. Nope, it ain't that. Son of a bitch. I'm stuck. Oh, there it is. Fill. Yeah. And then when you take the horizontal box, it'll resize it. There you go. Okay. So then you put this down here and then you anchor it to the bottom left like so. And then to add it to your screen, okay, all you have to do is instead of going back in your HUD, instead of going back in here, where the hell did that go? Oh, that's the game mode. Instead of going back in here and then doing the whole create widget, add it to the viewport bullshit, instead of doing that, you can just add them to this container that you created, right? So now you come back in here, come back over here to user created, like this, drag in the health bar, position it where you want it, scale it a little bit if you need to, like that. And then anchor it to the bottom left, compile it and save it. And now when you spawn in here, check it out. So now your crosshair and that health bar is modular. So you don't have to keep adding widget, add to viewport, create widget, add to viewport, create widget, add to viewport. You create the container, add it to your viewport, and then you, as separate widgets, you add your health bar, you add your stamina bar, you add your ammo count bar, and then when you want to adjust it or whatever, all you have to do is go into the container in here and you can move this shit around wherever the hell you want it to, right? Anchor in the top center as an example. And then you spawn in, see how that works? And you just make all your widgets modular like that. So there, I hope that helps, but that's how I do it. Create a HUD, add your HUD in your game mode, right? You know how to do that. And then you create one widget called container and leave it blank. Then you create all your separate widgets and you add them by simply coming over here and doing this. The whole user created, and every widget that you create should show up over here. You drag it in, then you move it around and position it wherever you want it and make sure you got it anchored correctly and all that stuff. That keeps you from having to do the whole create widget shit. I've seen projects that's got 82 goddamn widgets in the, and they put them everywhere. Like they'll put adding widgets in the damn character blueprint. They'll put it in the player control. I mean, they scatter them some bitches everywhere. And it's far better you put the HUD in the game mode, you create the container in the HUD, right? And then you add modularly every single widget that you want to display on your screen. Nice, neat, and easy peasy. Okay. Now, with that, I am seriously done at this point. Don't save. I hope that's helpful. I ain't worth a damn at UI. I'll just tell you straight up. Out of everything that I do, UI is my worst subject. My second worst subject, oddly enough, is animation. I ain't worth a damn at animation either. I hate messing with animations. All right, let me get caught up on chat and then that's a wrap. Okay. Understood. That if check was for the turret thing, Thank you. I will look into this if you have time, but if you have to leave, hello, I want to start in UE, but I use UE4 or 5. Well, until UE5, I mean, I don't know, right? I mean, they're going to be switching to Unreal Engine 5 permanently at some point, but from what I've dicked around in Unreal Engine 5, they're pretty similar. 4.27 and 5 are pretty similar. But I guess if I was starting right now, like right now, I would start with Unreal Engine 5 probably. Even though it is still in preview, that's what I would do. Because there's going to be a bit of a learning curve for everybody that's used 4 for a very long time. When we go into 5, there's still going to be a bit of a learning curve. So if you're just now getting started, you can skip one learning curve by just going ahead and going straight into 5 and begin your journey. That's what I would say. Just working on a HUD in multiplayer at the moment. Would you be at GDC, John? No, I don't go to any of that stuff. There was a typo. Of course there's a typo. Wait till you guys see me doing a live stream, spending an hour trying to figure something out, and it's because I've spelled something wrong or backwards, because I got dyslexia too. Size was 0. Yeah, that'll do it. 0.5 alignments to get it centered. Yes, that's correct. Has to be fill. For the progress bar, text is the child of the progress bar. No, not really. I mean, all I did was I created a text, then I created the progress bar, then I selected them both and did the whole right click wrap with, and all it does is put them inside of a horizontal box. It just makes it easier to move them around, right? That's all I did. Not auto. With this approach of setting up the HUD, what if you want to replace a HUD with another in the same position? I don't really quite understand what you're trying to do, but if you're switching from one HUD to another, I would just keep them both separate. Like if you're wanting to have a specific HUD for like a non-combat scenario, and then when you equip a weapon, you want a completely different HUD, I would create the completely different HUD, and then in the blueprint logic, I'd try to figure out how to switch them. Like if you're in combat mode, use this HUD, set this HUD, and if you're not, set back to non-combat HUD. I'd try to figure something like that out if it was me. 82 widgets. All right, with that, guys, if you guys appreciate what I do here in Galt's Gulch, please feel free to send a donation or contribution to my PayPal via the link in the banner or the link underneath any of these videos. And with that, you guys take care. This is John Galt, and you all have a great weekend. Peace.